This could happen within 24 hours before the cyclone strikes.
It's the tone and visuals of urgency. The injured, people with disability, elders, children, mothers and members of the community are ushered to safety at the evacuation center. It looks so real, but this is only a simulation exercise. In this disaster recreation, everyone is included, even members of the community who are often forgotten, people with disability.
Aim of this whole project, it looks very bright with the inclusion that happened today, and I hope that this model here, the same practice, will be endorsed by the government to be the model to be used in every villages in Fiji during time of disaster, where disability is going to be included in any evacuation or any disaster preparation program.
This is the finale of the 4 days training here in the village and district of Buretu, located in the province of Tailevu, Fiji. Buretu is an Itauke Fijian word that means a home that stands for all, a fitting name and location for the piloting of a training toolkit that advocates disability inclusiveness in disaster risk reduction. All findings of the 4 days training and simulation have been documented to contribute to the final content of a training manual that will resonate the true meaning of the name of the host district, Buretu, a home that stands for all. Every successful training needs proper planning. This is where it all began, at the Fiji Medical Association building in Suva, the capital of Fiji. On Friday, 15th September 2013, prior to the training and simulation exercise in Buretu, members of the Fiji Disabled People's Federation, officers from the Pacific Disability Forum, representatives from Act for Peace, Foundation for the Peoples of the South Pacific International, WWF South Pacific, Fiji Red Cross Society, and St. John's Ambulance convened here to put together a detailed plan on how to pre-test or put into action the contents of the training toolkit at a community or grassroots level. It's this toolkit that will be the center of discussion for the next 2 days.
At the end of this 2 days, we have a methodology that we can take to the community that is more disability inclusive. In what we've got in the past has some disability discussions, but that's all it is, discussions. But from now, with the new toolkit that's been developed by PDF and the Fiji Disability Federation, we are now at a stage where we can have better informed decisions.
The document is still in draft form, so the new findings at this session and at the training at the village will all be incorporated to contribute to the final manual. Once the final toolkit is completed, distribution will be made and training conducted throughout Fiji and the rest of the Pacific region. Getting to this stage for people with disability hasn't been easy. Setareki Madhanawai, the Chief Executive Officer of the Pacific Disability Forum, has been advocating strongly for people with disability in Fiji and the region.
The disaster in the Pacific is a well-known phenomena, and has been capturing a lot of interest, similar, I suppose, to climate change. So a lot of donor money is being poured to support that. A lot of countries are trying to find out how best to address disaster in terms of risk reduction and management. When we came across those initiatives and found out 3 or 4 years ago that us persons with disabilities were not included, we started advocating strongly for that to be done.
This workshop is the stepping stone to achieving the vision and goals of people living with disability. This is history in the making.
If you check on page 2, if you have the copy of the toolkit, the disability...
When the planning session is over, only the core group from here will be conducting the training in the district and village of Buretu. The main trainers at the village will be Eleanor from the Fiji Disabled People's Federation and Taina from Act for Peace. Eleanor will lead the sessions on disability, while Taina facilitates areas relating to disaster. Supporting the main facilitators are Litia and Sam from the Fiji Disabled People's Federation and the team from the Pacific Disability Forum. Over 30 kilometers away from the venue of the consultation in Suva City is the village of Buretu. Preparations for the training are already underway. Everyone is looking forward to the arrival of the facilitators and members of the team.
It's a privilege that we're being chosen out of all the villages in Fiji and even in the South Pacific, to have Buretu as the first village to host this workshop. It's an honor for us.
Buretu, like 4 other neighboring villages that comes under Ratu Vekoso's leadership, are all part of the biggest river delta system in Fiji, the Rera River. The district of Buretu consists of the village of Naivakavau, Daku, Nambodiwa and Matainodo, all of which dwell on land less than 2 meters above sea level. It's Tuesday, 17th September 2013. Eleanor is browsing the net minutes before she leaves with her colleagues for Buretu. This is an important moment for her, to prepare herself mentally before she conducts the first session at the 4 days training on the toolkit. Eleanor is a confident and outspoken person. She's very comfortable when she sits at her work table. A crutch on her side tells another story. Eleanor has difficulty walking.
This morning, before we begin, we are going to do a few activities or exercises. Persons with impairments should not be discriminated or judged on what they can or cannot do. It's a personal experience. These activities that we are about to do will illustrate the challenges we, persons with disability, often face.
It's this personal experience that Eleanor wants each individual participant to be familiar with.
Write with your foot. This time, write your name with your mouth. Bite onto the pen and write your name. You've written with your right hand, then your left hand, and thirdly, use your mouth to write your name.
By the end of the activity, the participants have completely changed their perceptions on disability.
I realized the strong desire by persons with impairments to be like us, who are without impairments. I looked at what I did today. This is what I wrote with my right hand. It looks good. This is what I did with my left. My mouth, my foot. This morning I realized the challenges that persons with impairments face. Yet we simply laugh about it. When they try to strive, does anyone even bother to offer assistance?
Needs as a community, your needs and wants.
Eleanor then continued with a session on needs and wants. A role play was then conducted to allow the participants to fully experience and appreciate various forms of disabilities in times of disaster. The assessment of the exercise revealed the following: that persons with disability have their needs and requirements in times of disaster. The design of evacuation centers should be accessible to all through ramps, railings and proper lighting, for example. Also, persons with disabilities do have strengths which can be utilized in preparation and during a disaster. A person who is deaf is strong enough to help carry heavy loads to the evacuation center. We need to think about people's abilities in a different way, on a case-by-case basis.
Oh, you can hear me!
It is quite different to have good eyesight and to be totally blind. When I walked in, all I could hear was the sound of claps and my walking stick. I couldn't see anything. I had difficulty climbing that staircase. In fact, I almost fell and slipped under the house. When we relate disability stories, we present two sides of our experiences. One side is those who are born without disability and then given time with disability.
You are given the time with the disability.
There are only a few of us here, but we represent a bigger group out there. The second side is those who are naturally born with disability. These are the ones that you will see this afternoon.
Those that are born with a disability.
The arrival of members of the Fiji Disabled People's Federation added new interest to Eleanor's afternoon session. Collie is totally dependent on a wheelchair for mobility and requires assistance to gain access to premises that do not have ramps. First, the introduction to members of the Federation with various forms of disabilities. Participants were given the opportunity to witness how individuals with different impairments are enabled by acquiring unique skills.
At the top is disability. That is the sign for disability. It looks like someone is on the wheelchair.
Alex has a hearing and speech impairment. However, sign language has enabled him to communicate.
Do it twice, like this.
He's translating words and phrases used in disaster to sign language. Ruthie was born with a vision impairment. However, she can read and write if special equipment are made available to her. Braille is the oldest form of communication tool for the blind. In order to be able to use the equipment, training at a special school is required. From Braille to laptops. In this world of digital technology, those who are visually impaired, like Ruthie, can now still read and write using special screen reading software.
It's me who makes community. 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 Rolling on the ocean, rolling on the sea,
Ladies and gentlemen, the water level is rising. Our village is slowly submerging. Old men and women, including persons with disabilities, need to evacuate now.
Once the introductions are over, it's time for members of the Federation and participants to work together in the second simulation exercise.
I feel saddened because they need a lot of assistance. I think there should be more ramps made so it's more accessible for persons with disabilities, especially during times of disaster.
It's the end of Eleanor's session on disability. Taina takes over from here. She too has learnt a lot from Eleanor's session.
I have learnt a lot. I have spent over 6 years teaching in communities. And this is the first time for me to work with persons with disabilities. This morning I said that this would be the first time in Fiji to combine disaster management and disability. The information that we are going to gather in the 4 days will be compiled and endorsed by the Disaster Management Center or DISMAC as a training toolkit. This book will be used in years to come to assist us on how to assist persons with disabilities during the time of disaster.
It is now the second day with Taina. Each of the 6 villages has come up with their own disaster management plan. In their plan, which is now disability inclusive, they must include a detailed village layout, timeline of disaster events and mitigation, and a disaster risk reduction proposal. The plans are being compiled to meet the standards of the National Disaster Management Center, or DISMAC. At the end of the training, all participants will be officially registered as members of DISMAC.
Fiji is now in a state of disaster.
Today, I've learned that there are different categories of responses. First, there is emergency. When assistance is no longer available within, we then seek assistance from outside, which indicate that we are now in a state of disaster. That's something new I learned this morning.
It's Friday, 20th September 2013, and the final day of training. Before the simulation exercise, Eleanor introduces members of the Fiji Disabled People's Federation to the children. Alex is once again the star of the moment.
Father, seu tá. F sign, 2 times, eh? Father. Hello, hello. Okay, sign. Set.
With members of the community, both children and adults, well versed with procedures of preparation for disability inclusiveness and disaster risk reduction, the simulation exercise can now proceed. This is the moment Taina and Turanganikoro, or village headmen, have been waiting for, the simulation exercise.
The weather forecast. A trough of low pressure is being detected. The system is likely to worsen and could cause disaster to our beloved Fiji. May I have your attention to the members of the Disaster Committee, DISMAC. Could we please meet at the village hall? It's an urgent meeting and your attendance in numbers is appreciated. It's confirmed it will affect us. The warning has been issued. Its color yellow. We'll need to make preparations now.
The youth are being tasked to play key roles in the simulation exercise. This is an important recommendation from the workshop. One other recommendation made from the training was the selection of an assistant to the Turanganikoro.
The community has been asked to prepare for disaster. You see, they've begun alerting everyone. For those with hearing impairment, the yellow flag is the sign for them to prepare to move into the community evacuation center.
Grandpa, move to the village hall. Stop the Facebook now.
The Turanganikoro is not here. Who can talk to them?
A bad weather forecast has been received. There's likely to be flooding.
That whistle sound is for who? For persons with visual impairments. Yes, it's for the blind. It's for those who are totally blind, may not be able to see the yellow flag.
The reason being, in a community, if you blow the conch at any time, they know that people have to get it. Yeah.
That's the only purpose of the conch.
For the conch.
Okay, all right. Sorry, it's just assemble.
Yeah.
But
because they don't beat a lolly, it's different in different Fijian communities. They don't beat a lolly that spells death or church.
Okay, all right.
That is the reason for the conch. Yeah.
Youth leader, please bring all the food from the store.
Red
flag. The community is in risk. A curfew is now in place. All we can do now is pray, sing hymns, and worship the Lord.
No one is to go outside. If the kids are naughty, a light punishment should be enforced.
A stern warning by DISMAC leader and youth Turanganikoro. Sufficient supply of food, water, lighting equipment and other essential supplies were made available at the evacuation center. The team also ensures persons with disability are taken care of. Someone is being assigned to take them to the bathroom and see that other needs are provided. Mothers, children, the elderly, those injured and pregnant mothers are given special attention. The red is being replaced with white, signifying that the threat of disaster is now over. However, for the DISMAC team, this is the beginning of other tasks. Accurate reports must be made to the closest DISMAC or disaster management center. Estimation of damage on gardens and buildings are noted.
We are in great need for food and assistance.
Are there any injuries or deaths? Once all the reports are made, DISMAC will then determine whether they should declare the area in a state of emergency or disaster.
I am thankful, especially to the youths, for taking a lead role in ensuring all the elderly and persons with disabilities were brought to the evacuation center. I am really thankful for this simulation exercise.
No stones were left unturned. Every view from members of the Federation, participants and assessors about the general design of the hall, like providing better access, location of bathroom facilities, and the early warning systems, to name a few, seriously took into account disability in their evaluation.
Especially for me. My condition is arthritis and require a wheelchair for mobility. This will be different for those who have stroke and have been bedridden for long. It's always good to ask as to how they prefer to be lifted. The first approach is important, and asking as to where we prefer to be lifted is vital.
The event has been a success. The closing of the workshop is indeed a milestone to all stakeholders present in this community hall. The event has not only broken new ground when disability is integrated with disaster training, it has also brought the people closer when they embrace the fact that disabled persons are indeed part of the community.
And we all know that there are persons with disabilities in every village in Fiji, and that everybody should learn how to work closely with them. So with this, I would like to thank the village of Buretu for allowing FTPF and PDF together with the Fiji Council of Churches to implement this, and I think we have got new partners.
Parents bringing in their disabled children to interact with the community and meeting the chief guest of the ceremony, Fiji's first gold medalist Olympian at the London 2012 Paralympic Games, Ilyas Ndalana, is a true manifestation of the name of the district, Buretu, a home that stands for all.